The big boys are back in the upstate as Universal Championship Wrestling presents Parade of Champions, Friday, November 22nd at the Anderson Sports and Entertainment Center. You'll see Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, the Universal Champion Carlito of WWE, the King of Swing Johnny Swinger, Buff the Stuff Bagwell, the legendary Barbarian, Caleb Conley of Impact Wrestling, Ladies Action, and much, much more. Get your tickets today at the Civic Center or go to ucwtv.com for Parade of Champions, November 22nd, Anderson Sports and Entertainment Center.
Hey, you're listening to Electric City Broadcasting. This is Sam Jones here with Ron Gossett. Kind of tell us who you are and what you represent and about the event taking place here in the area.
Well, we got a big event coming up at the Anderson County Civic Center, now Anderson Sports and Entertainment Center, and I'm the president of Universal Championship Wrestling out of Atlanta.
Yep. And
also known as UCW, and we are a professional wrestling company based and formatted kind of similar to WCW's format in the 90s.
Right.
As we kind of bring back the traditional style to the fans.
Yep, and you're going to be in this area with a big night on November 22nd, is that correct?
That's correct. Friday night, November 22nd, Parade of Champions, as we bring wrestling back to the Anderson County area for the first time in a while.
Now tell me a little bit about your history with wrestling, about UCW, about how all that got started, and about what your goal is with what you're trying to accomplish with it.
Well, you know, I did pro wrestling myself after football, and my football career ended early as I played at Texas Tech, and that was my dream, is to play pro for a long time. It ended early, and then I started getting into, I always was a wrestling fan, grew up loving it, and I was able to get trained by several different good mentors like Sergeant Budley Parker at the power plant. People would know him from WCW, Terry Funk and his brother Dory. And then another local gentleman named Paul Helms that went by the Desperados. So all of that training came in with that. And then how I developed UCW was right after the sale of WCW. A lot of me and a lot of the stars had no place to really wrestle except for independent wrestling.
Right.
And it was such a smaller stage than we were really wanting to be on or were familiar with, or we really had nowhere to go. So I really formatted UCW to pick up where WCW left off. So instead of World Championship Wrestling, was Universal Championship Wrestling. So we would want to book the same buildings that we'd been running, bring back to the fans the wrestling they had seen as an alternate to what WWE was putting out at the time.
Right.
So that's how we formatted it. A couple of wrestlers helped me, like Lash LaRue from WCW, helped me with logos. Dave Taylor, Squire Dave Taylor, Sergeant Budley Parker, Terry Funk, and Chavo Guerrero Sr. helped me with mentoring me on how to promote this brand.
Right. And that's exactly what you have to do. You have to promote it a lot.
It really is, because we really wanted, it wasn't from a trust fund or a corporate background. It was an individual. So we really did a grassroots approach of going back to the people and incorporating local areas and local businesses to help us grow the brand back to the people.
Right. Now, you talk about traditional professional wrestling. You can go way back. I mean, you think back to 70s, early 80s on up, and I know it was around before then, but it began to get its popularity as far as television a little bit earlier than that, and then in the 80s. Is that where you're getting some of your inspiration to continue on with what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I would watch it with my great-grandmother and my grandmother. We would go to the Memorial Auditorium here in Greenville and watch it on Monday nights.
Wow.
And so the way that was represented, there was no rock and roll, there was no risque type entertainment, there was no big lights and glitz. It was really wrestling. It was just characters and tough gentlemen wrestling. And so when I say back to the traditional style, is you'll see a lot of that, a lot of less talking. It's not a rock and roll sex show. It's really a competition of wrestling, and good versus bad is about as far as it goes.
Right. You know, I remember those days and watching wrestling. It was, let's get the match started and let's go. You know,
absolutely. So if you remember any of those gentlemen, you know, like the Andersons, and you grew up like watching Steamboat and Flair, that's the good wrestling that we like to bring back to the fans.
Right. Tell us about some of the wrestling talent that you'll have coming in for this night.
For Parade of Champions, we're going to have a really a spectrum of it from yesterday, today, and the future. So we'll be bringing new talent that's coming up. We'll also have ladies action, because ladies wrestling has really grown in popularity, and they really came into their own. As a matter of fact, as you probably know, if you follow wrestling, they were main eventing WrestleMania. So it's really been great for the ladies to be able to come out of that, where they were just really seen as maybe a valet or a manager style for many years. Now they're actually getting their own credit for just how much hard work they put in there, and they work just as hard as the men. So they'll get to see some of that. Then you'll also get to see people from WCW that are legendary, like Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, who's part of the NWO, Buff Bagwell, also part of the NWO, and then people from WWE like Carlito, who's our Universal Champion, who was featured a lot on Raw and SmackDown. So we really have the gamut of folks, and you'll sometimes see some of the legends signing autographs with us, whether it's Road Warrior Animal or Ricky Steamboat. And so you just have to come and see what surprises you have in store, because there'll always be legends there also signing autographs for you.
Yeah. Well, let's take a break here, and we'll come back in just a moment, and we'll kind of talk about some of the matches you've got going on.
The big boys are back in the upstate as Universal Championship Wrestling presents Parade of Champions, Friday, November 22nd at the Anderson Sports and Entertainment Center. You'll see Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, the Universal Champion Carlito of WWE, the King of Swing Johnny Swinger, Buff the Stuff Bagwell, the legendary Barbarian, Caleb Conley of Impact Wrestling, Ladies Action, and much, much more. Get your tickets today at the Civic Center or go to ucwtv.com for Parade of Champions, November 22nd, Anderson Sports and Entertainment Center.